guys, how are y'all today? I'm a little crooked, it looks like. Oops. There we go. I'm going to give you a few minutes to let me know you're here. Sorry I missed you last week. It was a good week in Florida, though. Although I look like I did not leave Tennessee. My husband looks like he's been to the beach, but not me. Let me know that you're here. Let us know where you're from. Yes, we did have a good trip to Florida. I got my honeydews taken care of that I was supposed to take care of, so that's always a good thing. Dad's doing pretty well, which is always really a good thing. So other than that, we did all of our little things, baked for him that week. So basically it was not a vacation, but fun. So it's always good to see him. So let's see here. Some people asked about the pillow that I did and that I posted on Facebook. So this guy right here. So we're going to talk about how I did that today. I didn't feel like it was worth a charge class because it's all built into the software. So that is what I thought we would do today. So we're going to be in P design most of the time. If there are specific questions about BES, of course, I'll be happy to try to answer those for you. I'm on a new setup, so hopefully you can hear and see me very well. So I'm doing 2 monitors today, which is a little weird for me. Usually my other monitor's right here in front of me, and this one's up here, but now I'm going to flip around. And hi, Judy from Surprise, Arizona. She knows I'm always going to say hello because surprise, surprise, surprise. I just can't help being gym neighbors on that one. So beautiful weather down there in Florida, though. You guys we went from 83 yesterday to 44 here. I'm ready to go back to Florida. But like I said, it does not look like I've been there because I am still the same color as I was when I left. All my work was done inside. But I got to bake and I got to have some fun. And we played on the Scan-A-Cut with my stepmom. And so we had a lot of fun there. And it was always good to get out of the cool weather. Although I understand they had a really nice week here last week. So, oh well. All right, guys. So without further ado, I am going to share a screen. I forgot to prepare this earlier to share the correct screen. So hold on a second. Let me share a screen. We're going to share this one right here. And everything that I'm doing today is built into the software. So before I start sharing that screen, let's talk a little bit. If you want to do a design that is larger than your largest hoop will support, what you can do is create a custom hoop, okay? And that will split your design. It can go up to 1,000 millimeters by 1,000 millimeters. So you can have multiple sections split just depending on how far you want to go. And what happens is the software will divide the design up for you into manageable sections that fit the hoop size that you've selected. Each section is connected with a basting stitch. So at the end of the first section, it will stitch a basting line. Depending on how many sections you have to go with it, it will stitch a basting line last. And that color is always called not defined, but it shows as a red color. And I usually do stitch mine in red unless that's the color of what my background is. I stitch it in something that's very obvious that I need to pick out. So if it happens to be purple, it makes it easier if I pick a color that I can see through the fabric that I'm using. So what I will do is I will stitch the first section and stitch the basting line. And then on the second section, I will hoop a piece of adhesive wash-away stabilizer. And I will stitch my basting line onto that adhesive wash-away and then match up my basting line from my first piece onto that. And then you can fast forward through to make sure your needle's going to penetrate in the correct position. If it doesn't, you can lift and shift. Once I've got it in the correct position, then I'll smooth it down, put my stabilizer that I want to stay behind underneath it, float it between the bed of the machine and the hoop, and I'm ready to stitch. So today I'm going to show you how to set up a custom hoop. We'll do it for I'm not going to do it for a huge hoop. We'll do it for a smaller hoop so you can see how the process works. But this gives you that capability of expanding your sewing field if you want to. So I'm going to now share my screen and show you how this works. Okay. So what you're going to do is we're in P Design 11. You're going to click on your design settings icon, which is the hoop, or go up to the application button and choose design settings. Either way will get you this screen right here. All right. You normally would choose a hoop size. when you're doing a split design, you want to choose custom size. And then you want to choose what hoop you plan on using to sew out your embroidery design. So if let's say we're going to do an 8x8, that would be the 190 by 190. So if you were choosing an 8x8 hoop, you'll notice it gives me 4 red sections because my width is set at 200 by 200. And as you scroll up, you'll notice that the white space expands. Once it goes past it, you know that you have reached the limit of its expansion. I'm going to just go ahead and make it 1 hoop, 2 hoops side by side. So here's my section 1 and here's section 2. And you'll notice that once I get 191, it's bigger than that space. So we're going to click OK. I've got 370 by 190. That's going to be 2 8x8 hoops. And if you wanted to go bigger, you can go bigger. Each time you add a hoop, it's going to add a basting line. Are we clear as mud so far? So if I wanted to go 3, I scroll up until it goes past that red line on the right side. And once it pops 1 more up, then I'll back it down. It just all depends on what you plan on doing. So I'm going to scroll back down to where I have 2. Hey, Tammy. So here we are back at 370 by 190. So that's 2 8x8 frames. And I'll click OK. And so you'll notice I now have a red dashed line in the center of my design field. That's where it's going to split the design. All right. So by Think Spring, I came in and I grabbed the text tool. I have no idea what font I selected. Doesn't really matter. I just typed in Think Spring. Oh, I typed in Think. And I pressed enter. And then I stretched it. And I rotated it. And I did not change the stitch type because it was going to be on something that it wasn't going to matter. But if you wanted to, I'll show you how to do that in just a second. I'm trying to see, what one did I use? It really doesn't matter. Let's just find one that we like. Decisions. I'm going to go with that one right there. So once you've got your font selected and you've got it the size you want, you can, actually, I don't like that T. It looks like an I. So let's go pick a different one. There we go. I like that one. Okay. So if I wanted to change the stitch type, because those are going to be really long stitches and they would pick out, you can choose fill stitch from your drop down menu on your text menu. Okay, so that would keep it from your stitches from picking out. And I'm going to show you a little trick here. In PE Design, if you are in expert mode, and if you're not in expert mode, you'll see 2 expert mode at the bottom. If you click on that, you get more options. You can change the stitch length, which is the step pitch. And when you do that, that will reduce our stitch count, and it kind of tricks it into thinking that it's more like a satin stitch, but not quite. So if you look at my stitch, it's not as dense as it was before. And let's change our color to something else. There we go. But it reduces your density. It reduces that stitch count, not the density, but the stitch count. So now I've got 7,241. If we go back to the house, which is your default settings, I had 10,000 stitches before. So by changing that step pitch, which is my stitch length, to 7, that changes my stitch count. And it doesn't make it it's not going to pound sand quite so much. Your frequency is the offset. So if you change that to about 50%, it'll look more like a random, you'll notice it looks more like a random satin. You can play with those different settings. I suggest that you stitch out a sample of the different frequencies and step pitches. On the step pitch, don't go below 2 because you're not going to like the results. I'm going to duplicate that text. So I'm going to right mouse click and choose duplicate. So it'll just kind of offset it. and we're going to put in spring down here at the bottom. So I'm going to go over to my text attributes window and type in, highlight the old text and type in spring. Now I'm a little bit big, I think, so let's shrink in. And if you want to know what size that is to be exact on the other one, I did 36.9. So we'll come over here and we'll type in 36.9. So now both of my text segments are the same size. I wanted one of them purple and one of them green. So I'm going to come up here to my little thread palette and choose purple. All right. So my next thing was to bring in a design. And I don't know if you all realize this or not, but you have a lot of sample designs in here. So I went into my sample folder and I went to sample flowers. And looky here, these little pansies are what I ended up choosing. So these were already built for me. The designs are ready to go, but I'm going to take out all but the ones that I want to use. So I highlighted the ones I don't want. I wasn't really fond of those stitches there, so we're just going to highlight those guys and delete them. Oh, undo. For some reason, it wanted to grab the purple. Okay. So now let's go into our zoom and make that bigger so we can see what we've got going on. And I'm going to have show by color order, actually. We're going to grab these. Hopefully I don't grab anything else. Oh, I grabbed my purple again. It does not like me today. There we go. So I'm grabbing those guys together and I want to group them. I got a green of the other piece, so I'm going to ungroup again, and we'll try this again. Let's do it in our sewing order window. Sometimes when you can't get what you want, going in your sewing order window is the better route to go. Let's see what we've got. This looks like it's my flower that I want. There we go. Oh, evidently I duplicated him by accident. So those are all of my parts. I'm going to hit my select tool and I'm going to right mouse click and choose group. Now, as I said, I duplicated a flower, so we're going to come down here and delete this one. That's why I try to tell y'all to do this. If you're not good with a mouse, it's better to do what I just did in the sequence in the sewing order window versus we need to grab that one too versus doing it right there on the screen. So there we go. And now I can grab this one by itself and group it. So I moved this one in and I moved this one over. And I think I went and I duplicated those. Let's duplicate this one and take it up here. And then I duplicated this one. And I'm just right mouse clicking and choosing duplicate and moved it down here. You can rotate them if you want. So the little circle at the top is a rotation tool. And I am not making this exactly like I made mine. I'm just showing you how kind of what my thinking process was. After I got it all set up, which is kind of what I have here, I'm kind of happy with that. Y'all tell me, you happy with that part? I went in and I went to my background fill. So for background fill, I don't want anything selected, because if I select one item, that's the only thing it's going to look at. We want it to look at everything. So we're going to touch our background fill button. There are two methods we could have done. Actually, there's many that we can do, but there were two options that I could use for this one, for what the look I was getting. The first thing you want to do is tell it where you want that background to go. So I clicked in the white space and you'll notice it's going all around everything. Echo fill, stippling, decorative fills, and crosshatch stripes. Crosshatch stripe was the one I tried first, and I did like that. I changed my size to, I think, 50, which is 2 inches. And it should go, Let's update that preview, and you'll notice how it thinned it out. If you don't like that, if you want them 1 inch apart, you can go 25. You could also change it to inches instead of metric, and you're done. You say okay, and your design is finished, and you'll notice it will have cut out the background around it. So it actually stitches around it. Any questions so far? I'm going to come back here and see if there's any questions. So far, it doesn't look like you guys have any. This is a pretty easy class today then. And I'll show you what it looks like and what it's going to stitch like here. So I'm going to, any questions before I flip back over to the other screen? Nope. All right, so let's flip back over here. Now, if I go down to the properties at the bottom right-hand corner, it says design properties. You can also find that under the application button, and yep, there it is, design property, either place. And this is a place where you can enter information that's searchable in your design database as well, just so you know. Oh, the whole design is selected. You want to click off the design before you do that. So go up to the application button, choose design properties, and choose next. So this is showing you that hoop 1, what's going to sew. So those are your colors when you click next. And if you look, it's showing you what is sewing. So this is the previous, and this is the second hoop. So it's giving you exactly what you're going to have in each section. Okay. All right. So I'm going to come back in and answer some questions. It looks like we do have some questions. So it says the outline look like it has some gaps. That is because that is the distance that I put around it. You can't, and I can go back in and show you in the background area what it does. It actually does not have huge gaps, but I don't like it being right up and tight. And I'll show you what I actually ended up doing that I liked better in just a second. So let's see here. What else do we have? No, I did not do anything with the jump stitches. They are automatically going to trim depending on, I can't change trims in PE design unless I'm working on a 10 needle hoop, a multi-needle hoop. The multi-needles are the only ones that you can control your jump trims on, your jump stitches on. Minimize feed is minimizing your jump stitches. Okay, so what it will do is try to path its way around it. If you don't choose minimize feed, you're going to have more trims in your design. Okay, so let me go back over here again and take that little question off, and let me show you the other little trick here. Yes, it works on any of the Brother machines, and actually it works on other brands as well. So I'm going to undo that background fill. Let's undo it a couple of times till we get back to where we just have the design itself. So we're back to our basic designs. If I go back in and I choose my background fill, and this time I do decorative fill and click on the design. When I choose next, this is the offset spacing. Offset spacing is how far away you want your background fill from your original design. My fill that I ended up using for this was actually this right here, the one that I liked. And I think I did it at 50. And I clicked OK. But here's where I changed this one. So I ended up using this decorative fill. I liked it, and I liked the way it sewed better than the other one. And that 1 millimeter that I put in there was how it went, the distance it was from my original design. So I actually made that space. If I undo that and go back into the background fill and take it down to nothing, take it back down to 0, and pick that decorative fill, and let's go back to 50. So I've got my offset spacing at 0. The exclude internal patterns is so that it doesn't sew underneath the patterns that you have it filling around. If you take that off, it's going to sew completely in that grid style, and there will be no traveling around it. Minimizing feed, as I said, is minimizing the jump stitch. So let's update our preview and click OK. This is the one I ended up going with. I actually like to leave about a 1 millimeter space around mine. And the reason I do that is because I usually change the order of sewing and have this sew last so that I can put my batting and stuff underneath it. And then I changed my direction, the angle, to 45 degrees. Excuse me. So now it looks like I've got a crosshatch stitching. And I love that. So that gives you an idea of what I did. So I've got to come over here and see what someone has asked me. Can I do a -2 spacing? A -2 spacing on what? On the offset spacing to where it would go inside it? You know, I've never tried it. Let's go see if that is that the question, Tammy. Let's go look and see. So I'm going to undo and undo again till we get back. Go back to our background fill and click here. And offset spacing does not let you go to a negative number. Okay. Now, other decorative fills that I could have selected, we've got plenty out there. There are 50 something built into the software. Let's look and see how many patterns. We've got 54 built into the software. So you have quite a selection that you could choose. You can come in and play. Why does that keep popping over to my first screen? I have no idea. There are tons of combinations that you can get just by playing with picking a different decorative fill. Let's see what that one. Oh, this one would look fun. I like that one as well. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it as it is. This time I'm going to exclude internal patterns to show you what that does, and we'll take off, actually, we'll leave minimize feed on. I'll show you what that does here in just a second. So if you look at this, now in my sewing order window, I have a solid space. And if I let's hide this right here. It'll hide that entire word. You notice that background is going to stitch underneath all of my words. It's going to stitch underneath every pattern that's there. So that's what exclude background does for you. It cuts the holes out. It basically sets your whole sewing without you having to think about it. Other ways that you could do this, background fill again. You can click on that where you want the background to go. You can choose echo fills. And that will echo around it. This is echo clipped. Then you have just basic echo. You choose what you like. Echo for this one, maybe not your best friend. Oh, offset spacing is way off. So let's take that way down. I must have had that going for some reason. So 5 millimeters is as low as I can go with an echo fill. And that is the spacing between the lines as well, just so you know. You also get a triple stitch. So that one will let you go triple stitch, and it will let you do a chain stitch. I'm not real fond of the chain stitch function on that one. I like either a run or a triple. You also have stippling. Super simple way to get stippling. Your offset spacing is how far away from the original pattern that you want it offset. And then your run pitch is your length of stitch, and your stippling spacing is how tight you want that stipple to be. So if I increase that number, it's a looser stipple. If I decrease that number, it gets more layering. Excuse me, more tight, more micro. And that's what we've got. So if you have just stripes. So I did crosshatch stripes the first time. You also have just stripes. So if you just want a line background, there you go. Now, let's go back to previous, and let's go back to decorative fill, and let me answer that one. I want you to see that last question. So exclude internal patterns. I showed you what that is. If we minimize the feed, if we take that off, I want you to see what happens. Well, with this particular design, it doesn't do a whole lot to it. But for most of them, you will have more jump stitches. So let's just watch that background sew and see what happens. This is your stitch simulator, and it will build it going around. And oh, there we go. So it's going to jump from over there to over there. And if I had minimized that feed, it would not have had those jumps. It would have traveled around the letters. So that's what your minimized feed does. Okay, so I'm going to come back in. Can you layer more than one background at a time? You know, let's see. Now, Lori, the background fill is not in PE Design 10. That is an 11 edition. All of the designs the custom hoop is in every version since maybe 8, where we were able to do a custom hoop. Actually 6. 6 is where we got custom hoop, I do believe. You're making me think a little bit. Heidi, I don't know if it's easier or harder. It's all in what you learn to do. There are things that this software does that the dime doesn't do. Obviously I'm a Brother person and I started with Brother. I do have the dime software and I've used the dime software. It's what you bond with. So you have to make that decision on your own. If you've got dime, then bond with it for a while. And we've got some features that they don't have. They have some features that we don't have. If everybody made the same software, it would be quite the boring world. So I am a software junkie. I'm all about having software because, my machine is beautiful and it's dreamy, but my software makes it sing. So each has a different function that allows you to do it. Once you learn where the tools are in each software, then you can make that software sing. All right. So Tammy, you want to see if we can layer more than one on there. All right. I'm more than willing to try that. Let's see what we could do to do that. Hadn't thought about that, hadn't tried it, don't know what it will look like, but we'll try. So let's see here. Decorative fill, next. We'll use this one first and click OK. Oh, wait a minute. I want to show you how it shows with the, I forgot to show you that, how it shows with the minima speed. All right, so there's that one. I'm going to scroll down through here and grab all of my other parts besides my background fill and select those. And then hit the background fill wizard. So that would allow me, you have to exclude your background fill that you had before. Otherwise, you'll have nowhere to go. And now let's put another decorative fill on it. Let's say we do the crosshatch. So there you go. Yes, you can layer 2 together. And you could do different colors. You could have different settings for each one. Okay, let me come back over here and ask questions. P Design 11 does not feed into BES4. We're working on getting the coding, getting them to be able to read a P Design 11 file. At this time, it does not. What I do is I save as a lower version if I want to use it in my BES4. They are 2 totally different programs. BES4 is a customizing program. PE Design 11 is a digitizing program, as well as a customizing program. You don't need anything, but I personally enjoy using both of them together. I think they each provide something that the other one doesn't. So, it's up to you as to what you want to do. These features that I'm showing today are not in BES4. Okay, so other questions for me today. I actually went through that much faster than I thought I would. Oh, let's see what that would look like with a different color. So here's the second one that we picked. Let's layer that in with a different color. What color y'all like? So you could kind of make that into a, what am I trying to think? What is that called? Oh, I hate it when that fish goes to the back of the tank. That word is just not going to come here for me. So the fish will come to the front of the tank in a little while. For the trapunto look, would I stitch the design according to your rehoopings on just the fabric, then do 4 hoopings with the design batting and a lining? No. What I would do is, I'm trying to think of what your question is here. What I would do is I would stitch the fill, the main design, the main part of the design in the section that I'm stitching it in. When it gets to the background fill, I would then float my batting up underneath it. Then I would go to the second section and I would basically stitch the main part of the design. When it gets to the decorative fill, I would float my batting up underneath it and trim it up real close to where where it matches up, that there's no seam. Does that make sense? Yeah, the double background fill could be lots of fun, I think. Y'all have to play with that. Kind of lattice work, yeah. But that's still not the word I'm looking for. It just will not come to me. It is just not coming to me. Prism, yeah. So let's see here. Can you put the background into the open part of a letter such as the P and the G? Yes, you could. All right. Herringbone. Yes, that's it. Thank you. Thanks, Deborah. That fish was not coming to the front of the tank for me today. I hate it when that happens. That's a sign of age, I guess, or tiredness, one of the two. All right, so if I wanted, I'm just going to do new design here. Are you guys good with what we've done here? And I can get rid of this design. So if I wanted to put a decorative fill into the center of a design, I'm going to go back to a regular standard hoop, and we'll just put a P in here. And we'll make that one big whopping P. And let's find one that has a closed center. All right. So if I want it to go in the center of the letter as well, notice if I just click on the outside, the center's not picked. If I want the center picked, I click inside the fill, inside the P, and now I've got the decorative fill in both places. And come pick you a decorative fill. Let's say we wanted this leaf pattern. There you go. Okay, when you're done, click OK, and you've got your decorative fill in there and around the design. All right, so what else have we got? So let's see here. You're going to use my thing about the fish. Will come around to the front of the tank in a minute. I got that from Lana Bennett many, many years ago, and it is the perfect example of when you lose what's on that you just will not come to the front. It's sitting out here somewhere, you know that's there, but you can't get it. All right, other questions for me, guys. Now, let me think. How could I do something similar to this in BES4? Y'all are going to make me open my BES4 up today. And we'll get this up. I don't know if it's really possible, but we may be able to trick it if we have Power Pack 1. Power Pack 1 is my favorite Power Pack for most people. So let's see here. Word retrieval, yes, word retrieval. Word association, you got to figure out what you wanted to associate with. I just could not come up with that one. Okay. So somebody asked, do I have my finished Think Spring? Yes, here's my finished Think Spring. This was a split design, so you can see kind of where I split. If you examine that, you can tell that I split it right there. It's hard to do this upside behind in front of me where I can't see. There we go. It's split right through there. But I mean, you'd have to examine it hard to be able to figure that out. All right. So BES4, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do this exact thing, but we will try. All right. And this would be with Power Pack 1. So what could I do here? Let's see here. Let's do Think Spring. All right, let me grab them all and let's pick a different font. Arrow keys on the keyboard give you the preview here. So let's go with Bake Fresh. It's one of my favorites. I like it. And let's make it bigger. And notice it gave me that error message. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to change that to a different pattern. I'm going to do the same thing here, change it to a different pattern. Even though it didn't tell me on that one, I want to make sure that I'm matchy. And let's see here. I could have paid attention to what I was doing, but I didn't. So there we go. All right. So if I want a decorative fill around this one, if I have Power Pack 1, I could do it. It's not going to go around it. It will go underneath it. So it's not going to be quite exactly the same, but we can make it kind of happen. So we're going to do applique shapes. And I'm going to grab, I just want a basic square. There we go. Rectangle will work. All right, I'm going to select my rectangle and we're going to make it bigger and we're going to rotate it 90 degrees. So I'm going to my Arrange to It tab and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees right. Then make it bigger again. Okay. Now, you all can play with it. I cannot split a design here unless I'm in a multi-needle hoop, just so you know. That is a... the 10 needle is the only split design frame that we have in this software. Where is my big hoop? So I'm going to go with my big hoop for my luminaire and we'll rotate that 90 degrees. All right, so there we go. Now, and I'll come back and answer questions in just a minute. I am going to make this as big as I can make it in my hoop, basically. And then we're going to go over to our Tools tab, and we're going to convert that to a decorative fill. I like having a steel stitch around here because I don't like the way the border stitches if we do that. So there you go. It's giving me my decorative fill. I have different decorative fills that I can select from. Artsy's kind of a fun one. And if you change that angle on Artsy, you get a different look. It kind of looks more like a quilting pattern. I like that. I'm going to take my Think Spring and move it to the end. And then let's see if we can remove that overlap. So let's grab our top pieces, which is the Think and the Spring, and we'll right mouse click and we'll say Remove Overlapped Stitches. And we want to take that down to 0 for this and see if it did it for us. Let me hide this and see if it removed it. Kind of. So it kind of does, and we're a little thin on my letters there. So it kind of gives it to you, but not quite the exact look, but somewhat similar. So, all right. When I say Power Pack 1, it sounds like I'm a superhero stitcher. There you go. Yes, Power Packs. Power Pack. Add more power to your software. They give you more fills, more stuff, more power, more things to be able to do to make your sewing machine do more. Can I layer them with BES4? Well, let's go look. I'm always willing to try. It's not something I've thought about. If I grab the satin stitch and convert it to a decorative fill again, let's turn off the border this time and click OK. I don't know how those will look layered, but we'll try a diamond. There you go. So yes, you could. I just don't have a border around it now. So I would want to copy and paste that first. Okay, so yes, you could. You would want to copy and paste that the decorative outline that's going to go around it first. And the reason I say that is because it doesn't stitch pretty around the edges. The way it does, it goes randomly around. And so you get a lot of heavy stitches on your edges. So I prefer to have a steel stitch around it to hide that. It doesn't have to be a thick one. A steel stitch is a zigzag, or your satin. It's just it just makes it a prettier edge than it does if you leave it with nothing on it. All right. Other questions for me today. because I feel like I've gone really quick, but you know, hey, it's not a hard little activity that I did today. And let me think, what else could we do? Let's hide BES4. Oh, let's go back here. I want to remind you, Easter's coming around the corner for most of us. Not everybody, I realize, does Easter, but for most of us, if you have BES4, I want you to remember that. Let me go get a new Google Chrome tab here. Brother Sew's, what is it? Stitching Social. I'm going to bring Stitching Social blog up here onto my screen. And if we go over here, even though this is, I haven't written anything for them lately because I've been too busy, but if you go to articles, I do believe we can search. Let's see BES4 if it'll pop up. Nope. Let me see here. All right. It's just going a little slower here. Let's see, what else have we got? There is one in here that I did for them a couple of years ago that I think if you've got kids in your family and you want to do something fun for them, this is a fun one to do. And it's not showing up. So let's see here. Let me search by my name. Let's search by my name and see if it pops up. And if you have a pet, you can do the collar. And I'll see if I've got Simply Applique on this new computer or not. So let's see here. There we go. So if you search by my name, this right here uses the nap control instead of the decorative fills. And it does the remove overlap. That's a super easy project to do, and I think you all will have fun with that one. So if you go to the Stitching Social blog, you'll find that one. Search my name, and you'll see those little guys. So let's see here. You Simply Applique. You're wondering how you can cut a design in half. If you are doing a 20-inch design, I can sew 2 parts in using P Design 10 and B. Okay, so P Design 10, you would use the custom hoop that I just did. Okay, it would be the exact same process. I don't have 10 on this computer, but that custom hoop is how you would split the design. Fran, P Design and BES4 are 2 totally different software programs. BES4 is a customizing program. It has word collage in it. It has over 200 fonts. It easily interacts with your scan and cut machine. It is a great complementary software to PE Design. You don't have to have, as I said, it's all about what you want to do. Is there nap control in PE Design 11? Not nap control per se, but there is a way to do nap control. So hold on a second. That's one I can show. Let me get this and minimize it. And let's see here. Let's hit new page. So if I wanted to put in a name here, and I wanted nap control for this one, I'm going to show you my cheater's way of doing this. So you can do it in a shape, or you can do it in a, let's put a shape around this. Actually, I'm not going to put a shape around that. I'm going to grab this right here. We're going to do the embroidered patch wizard. And we're going to take the distance out. We do not want to stitch. We're going to click OK. And you'll notice how it's given me that outline around it. So then what I can do is go into my background fill, click inside that area. And it doesn't matter what you choose as your fill because we're going to change it here. We're going to take off the exclude internal patterns and update our preview and click OK. Now go to your shapes tab, and instead of decorative fill, choose Net Fill. And I actually like this one. And I usually reduce the spacing down to 2. And that is your cheater's nap control. That answer that question for you, Margaret? Now let me see if I have Simply Applique on this computer. I do not, but I will get it on here before next week. I do not have it on this current computer. Like I said, I'm working on a new computer, so I'm trying to we're learning this one a little bit, and I haven't loaded everything yet. I don't have initial stitch on this one either. Simply Applique has like 12, somewhere between 11 and 20 fonts. I don't remember exactly how many. It has the capability of doing appliques from FCM files, fancy cutting machines, fabric cutting machines. If you have BES4, you do not need Simply Applique because the same functions are there. All right. Yes, Wanda, that would be the same process kind of to do patches. If you want your patch to go all the way around your design, you don't actually even have to do the patch wizard, the embroidered patch wizard. You could do that, but I do the applique button instead of the embroidered patch wizard. So I'll show you how I do a patch. Let me undo this one. We'll take it back to where it was just at the beginning. So what I do for my patch is I go into the applique wizard. I usually use a zigzag stitch. I usually increase my density up to about 5.5. You choose how far away from the original pattern you want it to go, and you choose Add. Click OK, and it creates your patch around the design. You can use the embroidered patch wizard. I just prefer the applique wizard. I like the way it, because I like a clean edge on the outside edge. That is my preference. My Lenovo, I believe, has 16 gig of RAM. Yes, I still have it, but I have a Lenovo desktop that I'm transitioning to do the lives because it's got more processing power. This is the first desktop I've had in a gazillion years. So I've gone to laptops totally, but these lives are eating up a lot of resources. So I'm trying to do this here. Can I do font mapping in PE Design 11? Yes, you can. Hold on a second, and we'll show you what that looks like. It is a PE Design 11 function. It is not in any other version below PE Design 11. And you go to your option pull-down menu and choose the Font Creator program. And the Font Creator program opens up here. And what you do is you go up to the application button and you choose New Font Mapping. And I usually have it set character height from the embroidery file because then it's going to do it at the default size. Okay. You choose where that font is located. Since I don't have any of the fonts on this computer, we'll just pick one of the sample fonts that are in the software. Why did that one not pick up? Interesting. There we go. All right. So you select the first one. If they are named correctly, the naming conventions are A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. You can pick the first one, hold the Shift key down, and pick the last one. But that's not letting me do that today. So let's try Control A. No. Oh, I've got to do the M. Sorry. M first. Okay. Now, you set the character and then you multiple import. And now you can do them all and import. Sorry, I was thinking I was in BES4. Now it's imported them. They're in the naming conventions in the places that they're supposed to be. You click close and you should see that it has mapped all of your fonts for you. If you have to do them one at a time, you do single import the first thing, but you still want to bring in your M first. So you select the M first, import it, and then you would do each letter in individually. Okay. Now let me come back over here. What is font mapping? Marion, if you buy font designs from people on the internet and you want to use them as keyboard lettering, font mapping allows you to do that. Both BES4 and PE Design 11 have font mapping. In BES4, it's called alpha mapping. In PE Design, it's called font mapping. So it allows you to bring those PES files in and turn them into keyboard lettering. Why the M first? The M is the largest character in the character map usually. And you want the spacing that the software determines the letters to be apart based on the largest character in the map. Okay. Can I open design specifically on Brother machines in the design program? If I cannot open any Disney designs, but yes, I can import my designs into PE Design 11. So if it's a PHX or a PHC file that's off of the machine, I can bring that into PE Design 11 in the import menu. So let me show you how that would work. You go to import. You would choose from folder if you're on a network machine. So, which, let me see. Let me turn on, yeah, my 10 needles on. Let me add my 10 needles. So if I go to option and choose options, I can choose network machine setting and add. It should find my 10 needle. There it is. We'll add Emma in and click OK. So if I wanted to go from a folder, notice all of my types are checked. I would then need to go find the folder that I wanted to look in. So let's say I go to layout and editing and my cut work folder. So then it shows me the folder files that are in there. You can click on it and click import, or where's my delete button? Click on, double click on it, or click and drag. It is not liking me today on that. So the reason it's beeping at me is those are cut work designs. I picked the cut work folder. So it's beeping at me telling me I don't have a multi-needle hoop selected. Therefore, it's going to change the cutting line into a sewing line. If I want to pull from my network sewing machine, I choose network sewing machine in my from drop down menu. So this is if you have a Luminaire or a PR1055X. This will allow you to communicate with it, and you can save those designs to the wireless icon. I think the Stellaire does it as well. It takes it a minute to find it, so while it's finding it, I'll see if there's any other questions here. It doesn't seem like we have any other questions, and it has found my machine. So these are the designs that are sitting on my machine that I've saved wirelessly. If I want to bring one back in, I can double click on it or click and drag it back in. All right, so let me delete that. On the Essence, the files are PHC files. So you would import those. So if you're saving one from the machine to your USB drive, you would put the USB drive into your computer. And when you choose folder, you would choose that USB drive. You will look in your B pocket. Okay, it will be in the B pocket. You have to click on the B pocket in that on that USB drive. Otherwise, you will not see the files. All right, guys. Any other questions? Nope. Well, you know what? I do have a banner. Oh, I was thinking since I was on the new computer, I wouldn't have the banner. So, Lettering So Easy coupon code is LET4 for this week. Angela and I have posted a new class. I do not have the link for that right now. Huh. Let me go look and see if I can find that real quick. Let's see here. Let's see here. Classes. So let's go to Angela's page and flip this. She's put it on her page, and because we buy it through her page, classes. Down here. Okay. And 101 is still up. Where is the one? Oh, here we go. And she hasn't put it on here yet. So I will let you know when that goes up. The 101 is still on her site, though. So if you want to go back and watch that, you can certainly do that. You just won't be live with us. We have a 102 ready to go. She just hasn't put it up for us yet. And when I get that, I'll let you know. You guys have a great rest of the week. We shall see you next week, next Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel. If there's any other questions, be sure and email me. That coupon code is probably not active just yet. I just got home last night, so I'll make it active. No, it's not Serger 102. It will be Embroidery 102 with Cindy and Angela. Serger is just her. I'm not a Serger queen. I will never make that claim. I have one. I can use one, but you would not want me to be your instructor for that. We're all honest about our talents, and that is not mine. Embroidery and software are where I go. So you guys have a great time. Thank you all for joining me today. Hopefully you enjoyed the information. And as I said, whoever asked me about the Simply Applique, I will put it on this computer next week, and we'll show you a little bit about it next week. Okay. All right, guys. You all have a great rest of the week. Bye.